Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you a bit more about how to improve your engagement within your app. So I've got one big suggestion, which is before you get started, go onto the App Store or the Play Store, look up relevant apps and sort of see their reviews. You'll sort of see what people are saying about them, whether they like the app, what features they actually use and want, what things they found hard to do in the app, and you can sort of target those areas to make those more streamlined, and hopefully those users will then find your app, find that that your app is matching whatever gap they've specified for this app, and then they might be quite committed to your app and engaged in it because you're sort of providing them things that they've been looking for. Another thing is to also look at your own reviews once you release. So if you find that people are leaving reviews, you can sort of have a look and see what they liked, what they didn't like. You can respond to their reviews where relevant and sort of interact with them a bit more, and sort of from there gauge what might be useful to them and what might not be useful to them. Another thing you can do, which is quite useful, is adding Google Analytics to your apps. So if you add Google Analytics to your app, you can actually go in and sort of see what people are like tapping on, what pages they're viewing if you've set it up so that you've got events on Google Analytics for those different actions. And you can sort of see what features people are using, whether they enter a feature and sort of then leave it without progressing further. You can sort of see what is widely used in your app, and if there's a particular feature that's widely used, you can focus a bit more development energy on streamlining that a bit if you think that that would be useful. Or you can sort of see if people are leaving a feature at a certain point, and if so, you might think, okay, is there a reason why they're leaving at this point? Is there something that's a bit confusing in the UI? Is there something that could use a little bit more explanation? Or is there just something useful at that point and they've got what they need at that point and don't need to continue further? So yeah, you can look at those sorts of analytics to sort of get an idea of what you need to do to get users really engaged in using your apps. Another thing which is quite useful is having user preferences. So say you've got some like different types of users, like maybe you've got students and teachers. They might have different things they want to sort of see, so it might be beneficial to give them some user preferences. Maybe you've got like an app that searches real estate listings, for example, in which case you'd want to provide a filter, because the user coming back to look at real estate listings would probably be looking at the same sort of price range, area, bedrooms, bathrooms, all that sort of thing. So it's kind of useful to provide user preferences so that the user doesn't need to do as much work every time they enter the app, and they find it really convenient to use. And they're like, oh, I'll just quickly pop on, I'm not going to have to configure lots of different things. If there are some configurations which you're going to be you're not expecting users to change much, then yeah, it's worthwhile having some user preferences that they're not having to do a lot of work every time they want to open the app, or they're just not going to open the app. You can also collect feedback from users in a few different other ways. So one is you can have some feature voting systems that your users can actually have input onto what features you have. So if you've got a backlog of items, some planning software lets you actually have voting, so you can vote, I like this idea, it would be really useful to me. So yeah, the person can vote on an idea, and then you can sort of get an idea of how many people will use it, or whether it's wasted sort of energy to do it because maybe only 1 or 2 people want it. But if like 500 people want it, 1,000 people want it, it could be useful. And another thing that a lot of apps do quite well, but I mean sometimes you don't have time for it and skip through it, is having a good onboarding flow. So when the user first comes into the app, they're going to be very unfamiliar with where different features are and how to make the most of the app. So if you have some simple onboarding flow that sort of guides them through a few key features, then that can be quite beneficial to maximize their use of the app. It's good if you can have it that they can skip, obviously, because some people just want to skip straight away and have a play around themselves. But it's always good if they can open it back up and see these tips and sort of get the most out of the app, just so that they, so that you're not wasting effort developing things no one knows how to use, and so that the users know that something exists that can help them and know exactly how to use it. So a good onboarding flow can be quite beneficial. Obviously you don't want it super long because people's attention spans are not that long, and that's why it's really good to be able to skip it as well, or to maybe go straight from the onboarding flow to the specific feature you're mentioning. That way they don't need to sort of, if that's what they were after and they're clicking next, then they can go straight to what they were looking for without having to figure too much out, and they can get straight into using the app. So yeah, there are some good apps that make use of a good onboarding flow to drive engagement with their users. Another thing which you can do is some YouTube tutorials. So yeah, a lot of people, you think that a user might know how to use your app, but you've actually been designing the app, so you know how to use the app. But when it comes to someone else, they might really have no clue what to do. So it's quite useful sometimes to have some YouTube tutorials online. It's good marketing content, so people might see it on YouTube and think, oh, I need to be able to do that. I don't have that app, I can go download it and make use of it. It sort of shows that you're quite active with the app. Like it's got a bit of support. It's not just like a app that's been put out there never to be thought of again by the developer. It's especially if you're regularly uploading content, it's just good marketing for your app, and also helps people use the app, and you can sort of direct people to these tutorials if they are struggling to use a feature in your app. Now, this is one that I'm not really a big fan of myself because I am not a big bot person, but a lot of people really love interacting with live chat bots. And so if you can have some live chat support, some people find that really useful and enjoy the experience of interacting with the bot. I don't know, I've always found it a bit weird, like, am I talking to a bot? Am I talking to a real person? Because sometimes they direct you over to a real person. It just makes me a little bit unsure. So live chat bots, they're an option. I personally don't use them, but I know that they can be quite useful for solving common problems that people have, because you can just sort of put in an FAQ thing so they'll recognize roughly what question the user's asking and sort of direct them to the appropriate response. Now, oftentimes when I install an app, I'll use it a few times and then I might forget that it's there because I've got a lot going on and maybe I've used a few features and I intend to come back to it, so I keep it installed, but I just sort of forget about it in the day-to-day life. So one thing that you can do, and I've found this particularly useful with language learning apps that I've used in the past, is it can sort of tell you, hey, you haven't logged in today to do your daily exercises. So you do a push notification. Would you like to start your daily exercises today? You'll be learning about X. So if you try and motivate people towards your app with push notifications, it can really remind them that the app exists on their phone and they are actually using it, especially if you can provide some value to the user. So don't just say, hey, you haven't logged in a while. Say, hey, I noticed you left this unfinished. Would you like to do some more on it? Or this to-do list item is due today. Would you like to log in and complete it, or delay it, or something like that? You can sort of drive the user to your app, just remind them that it exists, but in a way that's useful to them. It's not really beneficial for you to try and spam them with push notifications because they'll get annoyed and sort of uninstall the app. but if it makes sense for them to be coming back to the app to do something and you're delivering value to them, then I think that's when push notifications can be really good at bringing people back to your app and reminding them in their busy lives that, hey, you've got something that you wanted to do, let's get it done. Another thing that you can do, which is based off the analytics that I've suggested you add to your app. So if you add Google Analytics to your app, you can sort of see what features are being well used, but you can also see what isn't being well used. And if there are features that are not being well used, sometimes it's worthwhile considering just completely culling them from your app. I know you kind of can think, oh, but I can just let the feature hang there, some people use it, but if it depends. Like if you've got a lot going on in your app, you might want to just sort of cut it to make the app more simple to use, because if you've got this feature that not many people use and it's sort of stopping people from finding the real features that might be useful or are more likely to be useful to them, then maybe you don't want to have that in your app, sort of bogging down the UI, making it harder to find what the user's actually interested in. So yeah, cutting features with poor adoption is something you can do to enhance the user experience, and that will increase the user engagement. So another thing you can do, which is really beneficial to show on the App Store, is creating enticing promo videos. So if I go to an app and I see one's got like this promo video showing me all the cool features I can use and what I can get out of it, and this other video, this other app just has a few screenshots, I might be more inclined, even if it's a little bit more pricey, to go for the app with the promo video. And that's just because I can actually see those features in action. It's sort of telling me, it's able to communicate more clearly with me what value I'll get out of the app rather than a few pictures. So yeah, I think you will want to create promo videos for your apps. That should really help get more people interested in your app if they're choosing between two very similar apps. You'll also want to create some social media accounts. So basically this is just so that you can promote your brand, provide like useful information, be seen as an expert in the field that your app is for, and from there you can sort of gain the trust of people, and they're more likely to trust you, download your app, and you'll get a bit more of an audience, and so you can drive app engagement in that way as well. And my last suggestion for how to drive app engagement with your users is to actually incentivize the users to come back. So maybe you'll allow them to have some certain promo videos at certain times, and so they can come back, watch a promo video, get some coins or whatever to use in a game, for example. Or maybe you've got some features that can be unlocked with coins, or yeah, you can just sort of incentivize them with promo ads and stuff like that, rewarded ads, and that can drive engagement because you're getting ad revenue from the user, and they are getting like value back. They're getting maybe some new feature, or they're getting an upgrade in the game, something that's going to motivate them to watch the ad video. So it's sort of win-win. You can incentivize app engagement in that way. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today, and if you have, please like and subscribe for more content.